Welcome back to another episode of the Board Member Playbook, and let's cut straight to it. Why do boards exist? You've probably been in a dozen meetings by now where the board roles felt more like formalities than anything else. Here's the truth. If you think boards are just about quarterly meetings and signing off on decisions, you are missing the entire point. Boards are more than just fancy titles and PowerPoint slides. We are the ultimate guardians of strategy, accountability, and mission. This presentation isn't just going to skim the surface. We're going to dig deep into the real reasons boards exist. And trust me, we are here for a very real reason. We're also going to show what happens when we do not do our jobs as board members. Now, let's start with what most people get wrong about boards. The biggest misconception, that board members are passive, sitting in their ivory tower, rubber stamping decisions without really driving change. Maybe you've even seen it yourself. A few meetings, few motions passed, everyone goes home. And if you're on the board, you may be thinking, why the hell am I even here? That is the nerve that I'm trying to expose today, because boards are often misunderstood even by those who are sitting on them, right? Now, here's where it gets real. When boards fail to do their job, the consequences can be devastating. We're not just talking about poor meeting attendance or missed opportunities. We're talking about real-world consequences that have destroyed companies and tarnished legacies. Now, let's take a look at some well-known examples of what happens when boards don't step up. Example one we have is Enron. It's possibly one of the most infamous corporate scandals in history. The Enron board allowed the company's executives to engage in risky accounting practices, turning a blind eye to the warning signs. The result? A collapse that not only bankrupted the company, but also destroyed the lives of thousands of employees and investors. The board's failure to oversee and challenge management's decisions, especially around off-the-books liabilities, allowed Enron's fraudulent schemes to go unchecked. This wasn't just poor oversight. This was a catastrophic failure of the board. Now, second example I've got is Lehman Brothers. Lehman Brothers is another example where the board was too complacent. Despite seeing the warning signs of the subprime mortgage crisis, Lehman's board failed to take decisive action. Instead of pushing for risk mitigation, they continued to allow the company to double down on any risky bets, right? The result, Lehman Brothers filed the largest bankruptcy in U.S. history and triggered a financial crisis across the globe. This wasn't just an economic disaster. It was a failure of the board to provide critical oversight at a time when the stakes could not have been higher. Now, the example three, I don't have it listed here on the screen, but example three is the Volkswagen emission scandal. It's a perfect example of what happens when the boards are asleep at the wheel, no pun intended. The board of Volkswagen either didn't know, or worse, they chose not to know, blind eye, right? That the company was rigging emissions testing for years. When the scandal finally broke, it cost the company billions in fines and possibly even worse, irreparable damage to its reputation. The lesson here, when boards do not dig deep or do not demand transparency, the unethical practices can flourish and the fallout can be monumental. But it doesn't have to be that way, right? Now, once you understand the true purpose of a board, the fog seems to lift. The boards exist to do three critical things. We're here to drive strategy, we're here to provide oversight, and protect the mission. These aren't just buzzwords. This is the foundation of an organization's success. Strategy means guiding the long term, not just reacting to what is happening today. That strategic long-term plan is where strategy truly comes into play. Now, oversight means keeping leadership accountable, making sure that the right decisions are being made, right? And that the risks are mitigated. Stewardship, that is about ensuring that the organization stays true to its mission. Everything aligns with the values that were set from day one. When a board functions like this, it, as well as the organization it supports, is unstoppable. Now, a lot of words on the screen here. I'm not going to go through them all, but let's take a step back. Have you ever wondered why they were created in the first place? Boards weren't created by accident. They emerged as a solution to manage the complexity of large organizations. They are the evolution of leadership structure designed to provide balance and accountability at the top. From the earliest councils to today's modern boards, their purpose has always been the same: to ensure the power doesn't get concentrated into the hands of a few and that the leadership is held accountable. Think of them as the checks and balances that keep the ship sailing in the right direction. Right? Now, here's where boards can truly shine: driving strategy. Boards aren't just there to approve the CEO's ideas. They're there to challenge those ideas, support those ideas, refine them, and push the organization forward. They set the vision, ensuring that the organization doesn't just survive, but thrives in the long term, right? The most successful companies in the world, you ask, look closer and you will see a board that is actively driving strategy. They're making the moves that are needed for the future, and they're steering the organization towards success with that strategy. Now, boards are the ultimate architects of that organization's future. Let's talk about oversight for a second. The part where the boards keep the organization from going off the rails. They're not just watchdogs. They are protectors of the organization's integrity. From financial oversight to risk management, boards make sure that decisions are in line with the company's long-term interest. When leadership is about to make a move that could blow up in their face, it is the board's responsibility to pull the brakes. We ask the hard questions, and we ensure that the right choices are made. And when things go right, the boards are the unsung heroes behind that success, as well as management. Now, it's not just about strategy and oversight. Boards are also the stewards of the mission. Every organization has a core mission, its reason for existing, and it's the board's job to make sure that the mission does not get lost in the day-to-day operations. Especially in nonprofits, the board is the ultimate protector of the cause. It ensures that every decision, every dollar, and every action is in service of the purpose. Boards are there to ask, does this align with who we are and why we exist? Without that, organizations drift and eventually they lose control, right? So what happens when you have a strong board? And this is some of the success, right? You've got a strong organization. Strong boards create a culture of transparency, accountability, and innovation. They push leadership to take risks, but they also make sure that those risks are calculated, right? Whenever we're talking about risk mitigation, we're also talking about risks being calculated. They protect the organization from reckless decisions while also positioning it for growth. You show me a thriving organization, and I will show you that a board is doing its job and doing it well. Strong boards are not just behind the scenes, they're driving the bus, right? So here's the challenge. Are you rethinking the role of your board yet? Are you seeing the potential that boards have to drive strategy, enforce accountability, and protect the mission? It's time to stop treating boards like formalities and start treating them like powerful engines of the organizational success that they are. Now, here's where you jump in. What's been your experience so far? Have you seen them work? Have you seen them fail? Let's talk about it. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe. This is just the start. We've got tons more insights coming your way, and hopefully you don't want to miss them. Thanks. Appreciate you tuning in.